Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and this is a breakdown for The Penguin, episode 6, titled Gold Summit. Also, you might notice, your girl's back. This show is literally incredible, simply so much fun, so much so I had to come back and talk about Sofia Gigante because I love her so much. Also, who doesn't? Every look this woman brings is so great, and also, now that I kind of understand why she's mean all the time, I just kind of get it. I'd go crazy too. Last episode, the bodies were piling up, and guess what? They're now hanging. Okay, that was maybe a bad pun. Regardless, I'm gonna break down episode 6 with all the Easter eggs and details you might have missed. But before I get into it, I just gotta plug our new Rockstars merch at nerdriot.shop. It is still the witchy season, the witchy mood. It's Agatha all along, so you can get some of our Agatha all along inspired merch. Also, I know the conventions are going all the time, and it's a great holiday gift, so you can just have, you know, Halloween season in November, even December, Nightmare Before Christmas. Wear an Agatha shirt. You can also get our Blade merch, because there's no better time to get our Blade merch than right now when we know that Blade has been held indefinitely. We are not gonna get a Blade movie anytime soon. Get this merch to remember there was always only gonna be one Blade, and it's Wesley Snipes' Blade. God, we're never gonna get a damn Blade movie. I get that we have a lot of black vampires on TV and movies nowadays, but like, give me more. Regardless, nerdriot.shop is the best way to support the channel. Get some merch, go have fun, wild out if you can. Okay, let's get into it. We open the episode to a very wintry, snowy Gotham. The song playing is Billy Squier's The Stroke, but it's in the Safari Riot remix. This song, 9 times out of 10, to me at least, was just heavily, you know, sexually driven with innuendos to different sexual things. But in reality, it's reflective of Squier's experience with the music labels and executives in the industry that manipulates and exploits artists. In the song, Squire actually explains to be in the business, you gotta learn to play dirty, like the dirty games that they've been playing, which Oz has been doing as a gangster in Gotham since he was driving Sofia around. Also, if you couldn't tell by the weather, it looks like we've got a little bit of a time jump here. There's snow on the ground, snow everywhere, indicating that we're more into the winter season than previous episodes. This episode also opens with Oz saying, "Who's got the power in the city?" That's my best Penguin impression. I cannot do Colin Farrell's impression of the Penguin. It's just too good. During this scene, we see the nicer part of the city is lit up, so his question also works like a statement to who physically has literal power in the city right now. In this episode, the rich have diverted electricity away from the poor folks of Crown Point, and as a whole, the episode lays heavily into different classes within Gotham, but interestingly, makes Oz the kingpin of the Batman universe, as he'll represent the poor, the working, and what makes up the real city of Gotham shortly. This is happening while Oz narrates everyone's current situations. When he speaks on the death of the Falcones, we see the Falcone mausoleum that we see in previous episodes. He says Sal Maroni has now escaped Blackgate, though his family are now dead. I like that Oz says here that his family is ash, like they were cremated or just gone to the wind, when in reality it's a little bit of both because he literally set them on fire. So their ash is in the wind now. In the last episode, Oz successfully acquired 2 buckets of the drug mushrooms, but now in their underground lair, they've managed to replenish and build off those mushrooms, relabeling the drug under their own labels. The Bliss labels now look like an eye with a spiral pupil. There's nothing that I found about the symbol in Batman or Gotham lore, but the color behind the symbol is red and smudged like the color of bliss, and its hypnotic circle in the eye like an illusion or being hypnotized. In short, I think it's just to symbolize the drug itself and its effects it'll have on you. His underground hideout reminds me of his hideout in Batman Returns, which was also under a zoo but also connected via tunnels to Gotham's sewer system. So it's very similar to the location, or at least, you know, how the zoo is near Crown Point or in Crown Point. Also, Batman's gotta be somewhere hearing the echo from this tunnel to his tunnel. Though Brandon did acknowledge when I wrote this down that Crown Point may be on the other side of the river from the main hub of Gotham City, so it's probably less likely for them to actually run into each other. But you know, subway tunnels, they echo for like miles. So if there is one day that Batman goes to a different tunnel near that area, he is definitely gonna run into them. While introducing the new digs, Vic returns on a motorcycle, so our boy now rides a motorcycle. However, he also carries a gun now, furthering his descent into more crime. Oz tells his men to say that they got the money working in construction, and this is a classic generic job that criminal organizations can use as a cover. This was also, I think, the front in The Sopranos, and it's also easy to dispose of bodies when you've got construction. Oz asks Vic this.
Well, what did Donnie boy say? Sullivan's moving our product or what?
The Sullivan crime family was an Irish gang that appeared in The Long Halloween. They're led by Donnie Boy Sullivan, who we'll meet later in this episode. During their discussion, we see the map of Gotham City on the wall, and it's divided into uptown, midtown, and downtown. This downtown section you can barely see, but the Batman art book released its map of Gotham, and it has this downtown portion. It's just the same as this one, so the continuity is perfect. It also features a snippet of uptown and midtown in the bottom corner, and you can also see the tri-corners on this downtown map as well. Oz then points out on the uptown map, they cleared the lines and will be able to travel and supply drugs from Burnley to Odessa. Though I think it's really cool and just simple to note, thanks to the Batman City map, there's also a little Odessa that you can see on the downtown map, so I assume that gang is working in more than one area. The Odessa mob was the Russian mob also featured in the comics. Sofia mentioned the Odessa mob back in episode 3, and Burnley represents the Burnley mob. Burnley Town Massive is largely an African-American gang whose district was featured in the Gotham TV series, even in the 2019 Joker movie, and in the War Game storyline, where a shootout leaves many of the heads of the mobs in Gotham dead. The result was a power vacuum and a massive gang war. Penguin was involved selling guns, soldiers, and after a blackout power to all sides, and was eventually exiled. So him selling drugs to rival mobs is very similar. The War Games mob war seems to be standing for the superpowered gangs of No Man's Land in this more grounded take on the Batman lore. Like the Warriors, these gangs work in very different areas and actually hate each other, so Oz keeps it on the down low that he sells to them individually. He loves playing multiple angles at once and it never works for him. I don't know why he's doing it again. I also like that Oz knows this city so well because, like I mentioned earlier, he is Gotham. He's lived here forever, worked for everyone, dealt with everything. He knows the poor, the rich, everyone. He knows locations and dealings, but he also knows how these people work, which is a skill Sofia, the Maronis, even the other gang members do not have. Even though Sofia holds my attention, this is why the show is called The Penguin, you know? Like, this is why. Oz then names drops the Low Boys, which were a minor gang in No Man's Land and also had an appearance in the Gotham TV show where they first fought against and then backed the Penguin. He then mentions Link, the triad he dealt with in episode 3, and Zhao, the leader of the triads. We then learn City Hall is rationing the electricity and sending it to the rich neighborhoods, leaving everyone broke, freezing in the darkness. But it's okay, because Penguin takes pride in the fact that he's employing the people of Crown Point.
Our names are gonna live forever.
This is really him living out his Rex Calabrese fantasy. We're then taken to the Gigante mansion. This song playing over the opening title is Take Me by Karen Dalton from 1971, originally written by Leon Payne and George Jones. The song touches on how unpredictable love can be and lengths one will go in order to be with the one they love, which segues us into Sofia having Dr. Rush tied up because, of course, our girl, my girl, is literally a dom. However, she may just like tying men up as a control thing, because she did tie up the Penguin in the first episode and VD up last episode. After her time in Arkham, I imagine she wants to be like a little more control in her life, like literally and physically. I also assume Dr. Rush feels like he needs to be punished for his past deeds. He's become like a masochist because of it. I also like that he's not allowed to stay over and he's offered his techniques to use on the Penguin if she finds him, which furthers this man being a freakazoid since the beginning. As Sal cooks, I might butcher this, but he's listening to Bive by Gitia Pashai, who was an Iranian singer popular in the 60s and 70s, and as he's listening to his wife's music and cooking her family's recipes, clearly Sal is missing his love and his family. The meal he's making is Korish Badamja. This is a Parisian stew translating to eggplant stew. Sal watches Sofia here during her post-nut meal, and I guess it's to see how she likes the food. I don't know if it's too much of a trope or not, but Sofia is really like eating like someone who's been in prison for a long time, and nothing is delicate about my girl anymore. And honestly, I love that. She was doing this with the meatballs earlier too. They mentioned the after show or behind the scenes wrap up for this episode that Sofia was taught from an early age that this man's her #1 enemy, the Maronis versus the Falcones. Now she's seeing him as fatherly, gentle, and nice, which I think is a great point of view for these characters to have. He's over it and she's skeptical because of her past beliefs, but they both have new values and beliefs following their families dying. You can see he's still wearing the Maroni family ring that he got back from Alberto via Oz, and I wonder if Sofia clocks it here. She would have seen her dad wearing it a lot.
And thanks to True Classic for sponsoring this video. Everybody has laundry day clothes and everybody's laundry day outfit is the same theme. It's always pants that don't fit, a t-shirt with itchy seams, or some other piece of clothing that only gets trotted out when you have no other options. But why? Why? You can have a wardrobe that's all killer, no filler, and it's cheaper than ever thanks to True Classic. True Classic sells t-shirts, hoodies, and jeans that are perfect additions to any wardrobe. For fall, they have long sleeve Henleys, waffle hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers, and more to make sure you'll have cozy, stylish clothes to last you until the trees grow back their leaves. True Classic also has a ton of bundles and multi-pack options, so if you find a shirt you like, it's easy to double down and get your wardrobe that much more dialed in. I'm currently wearing just this wonderful, cozy, gray True Classic shirt, and I know what you're gonna say, but just gray is my color because it matches the direction my hair is going, and I just feel ready to chill out, and it's just comfortable. You know, I don't have to worry about it. Fall is here. It's time to step up your game. Right now, you can unlock big savings when you bundle packs. Just go to our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/newrockstars to save. That's trueclassic.com/newrockstars. Shop now and elevate your wardrobe today.
We're back at Crown Point, and it's still a mess. You can see the flood wall reconstruction going on in the background. Oz tries to listen to the Glowworm by the Mills Brothers, another wild song for his mom to jam to, I assume. Oz has a generator outside the apartment, which is a great great way to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Just FYI if you remember episode 4. And his mother is bundled up so cutely, and there's just something about this mob girl aesthetic this episode that must include animal print. It had it for her, it had it for Sofia. I just wish I got the memo. Oz has Vic making breakfast for them, and it's kind of messed up. He's not like a butler. However, it does remind me of his father who was cooking for the family during Vic's flashback the night his family died. Maybe he's like a lot like his father than we thought. Penguin then says this to his mother.
Kind of reminds me about Pauli's Diner, don't it, Ma?
Pauli's Diner was the location of the opening scene of the video game Arkham Knight when the Scarecrow first attacks the city using his fear gas. The name is a reference to Paul Dini, a writer who worked on Batman the animated series as well as the first 2 Arkham games. Frances appears to be getting a lot worse. Her speech is slurred and she's trailing off on sentences. Last episode, both Oz and Frances mentioned how much this apartment resembled their old apartment in Crown Point, and being in this situation is probably just amplifying Frances' memory issues. Frances gets confused when the power goes out, telling Oz this.
No! If you can't get the heat back on, I'll go to Rex.
So when he was growing up poor, Rex Calabrese had some relationship with Oz's mom and would help her out. This strengthens the father figure-esque relationship Oz has with Rex and the type of relationship he's seemingly trying to develop with Vic. We don't know if Rex is actually Oz's dad yet. We don't even know if that will be revealed. Maybe later in the season it will, but he absolutely was an inspirational man to Oz. Oz then gets a call from Link. He then turns on the news and hears of the 3 bodies found hanging on Byrne Street. Byrne Street is likely a reference to the comic author John Byrne, who mainly worked on Marvel Comics, but did do a little work on the Batman ones as well. Oz says this.
Hanging in the pinky.
Police believe this is a
Jesus, Sofia, pick a lane.
Oz is really particular about how you send a message with a dead body. Remember the hard time he gave Vic about how they showcased Alberto's body? Also, taking a pinky is the oldest trick in the book, girl. Like, why would you even do that? Oz then says this.
And Mork and Mindy are flexing.
And Mork and Mindy was an old sitcom from the late 1970s starring Robin Williams as an alien and Pam Dauber as his human companion. The wheels start turning for Oz, and I'll say he's usually 2 steps ahead even when his plans go belly up sometimes. So this plan is to release Bliss into the hoods for free to hit all the gang's area so it grabs their attentions. In the background during the speech, we see a prop for Gotham's original beer, Tri-Corner Gold. Tri-Corner is the small triangle island on the southern tip of Gotham we saw earlier on the map. When Penguin chomps on his cigar, it also reminds us of Burgess Meredith's Penguin look, and I feel like it's done on purpose. Walking down the street minding his own frickin' business, and Vic runs into Squid. Squid is played by Jared Abrahamson, who played the weird, sometimes out-of-place soldier in Venom 3. In this, though, it's superb. Direction was great. The character truly delivered on this one. We saw Squid in episode 3 flashback.
He's the guy that I boosted your rims for.
He's not trying to shake Vic down, he just wants some money, he says, though I hate extortion, which is exactly what he's doing to our boy. And Vic is stressed. Once Vic agrees to talk to his boss about letting Squid work for them, we're then taken to this building. We called this out in episode 1, but again, we see the Burgess jewelry shop, a nod to the actor Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin on the old Batman TV show, the guy I mentioned earlier. Sofia and Maroni make their way to Oz's apartment. They're searching for information on Oz, for more people he cares about so they can, you know, like hurt them. Sal then turns on this cheesy fireplace that we saw used before in Oz's apartment.
tacky.
I know.
We learn here that Oz's brothers died actually a long time ago.
His mother is dead too. I never heard much about his father.
We know that Frances and Oz consider his father a failure, but I don't think he's confirmed dead or even named at this point. We think it could be Rex, and Rex never just like claimed him. When they can't find evidence, Sal gets pissed and Sofia hands him a golf club to tear up the place. I genuinely am rooting for Sofia, personally at all times, and I like this relationship between her and Sal, even though I know it won't last. During the after show for this episode, Sal Maroni's actor, Clancy Brown, mentioned Sofia is the person who rescues him and gives him purpose again after losing his family. It's not like a father and daughter relationship in my opinion, and my hopes and dreams, but a friendship with shared mutual grief, and this is her weird way of just sympathizing. And that's when we find Eve's undergarments, and damn girl, everyone just got caught because of those panties. Back with Oz, he comes to find his mom trapped in the bathtub, and as shitty of a person Oz is, it's actually really heartbreaking to see him and his ailing mother, and she's asking the ultimate of Oz to help end her life, and this is basically the only time she's ever nice to this boy. Oz then does something that's very interesting to me here, and it's dressing his mother in her makeup and jewelry, like a good mama's boy. It feels like he's been doing this though before she was sick, but if he hadn't, he knows exactly what to do with her eyeshadow and what brushes to use. I think there's something sad around this moment of always being a mama's boy for him, and it goes beyond loving and caring. If his father left or was just a deadbeat and they hated him, and his mother has treated him like shit for a majority of his life with these wild expectations, he'll psychologically go on a path of like delinquency. He'd learn to be emotionally distant as an adult. He'd have unhealthy boundaries and dependency issues with everyone, which he already shows in Vic. If he has to kill her, it'll be worse. Though the way the episode ends, I don't think it'll be him having to do it. Also, the song playing here is Put the Blame on Mame from Gilda, sung by Rita Hayworth. When Oz puts the necklace he gave Francis in the first episode that was supposed to go to Alberto Falcone back on her, he tells her she looks like Gilda, which is the movie Put the Blame on Mame comes from. We saw Oz watch this movie back in episode 1, but now the song is haunting and slower.
Put the blame on me. Oh, put the blame on me.
Vic gets back and Oz is beside himself. Literally, he just has too much on his mind to even listen to Vic's issues with Squid. And I really like this scene and how it's shot because the room is dark, but Vic is lightly casted in the lantern's bright light and heavy dark shadows, almost like he can't find his balance in light and darkness between crime and innocence. Whereas Oz is dimly lit, more in the shadows, like he's always been in darkness, but in this moment, there's a bit of remorse or grief. Maybe just something not so evil or villainous about him. Oz goes through his mother's diagnosis here.
First it was Parkinson's, then Alzheimer's, and now they're talking about some thing called Lewy body. What the is that?
Lewy body dementia is the second most common form of dementia after Alzheimer's and can be caused by protein deposits and develop on the nerve cells in the brain. So it's not a good thing. Sofia's trying to track down Eve and runs into Roxy. We also see the women that we saw in the first episode, and I love these girls. The newsstand behind them, though, features a ton of Playboy and Hustlers, but on the lower shelf of the newsstand, you can see a sign for a musician named Tarabella performing at Finnegan's. And I believe Tarabella works in the art department, but Finnegan's is a bar in Gotham City, usually frequented by the Gotham City Police Department officers. And I wonder if it's actually in Sullivan's territory being Finnegan's. Oz tracks down Councilman Haiti, who he had sent photos of John Vitti to in the first episode. He's doing what Francis said she would get Rex to do, which is get the power fixed in Crown Point. Afterwards, he gets a call from Donny Boy, who is very, very, very Irish, and you can hear him yelling at Oz through the phone about selling drugs in his territory, so the games have begun. Back with Victor, he shoots Squid and says, "Why'd you make me do that?" And the scene is actually like traumatizing. This is something I don't even think we can show it here because he gets shot in the neck and it's a bad, bad bloody mess. This is something Oz says a lot also when he's doing bad things to people. He blames them for making him do it. Like in the first episode when he shoots at Vic and hits his own car, he touches the bullet hole and says, "Look at what you made me do." So Vic's definitely been internalizing this behavior of blaming other folks for his own actions and problems. Then we switch over to Eve and Sofia. Eve says this.
What? Didn't recognize me?
Eve and Sofia actually met during episode 3 as Eve was at the club they sold the Bliss at, but she was wearing her white wig at the time. But now she's in her comfortable house clothes. And you know, at the end of the day, you're not wearing a wig in your own house. I don't. Why would I do that? We also don't know for sure if Sofia ever followed up on Eve as Oz's alibi the night of Alberto's murder. Eve revealing that she had Roxy send Sofia up on purpose shows that Eve is smarter than people think. And this is a running trope for the characters on this show. They are often underestimated. Eve serves Sofia the same Blanton's bourbon Oz was drinking last episode. Then Eve says this to Sofia.
You know Oz as well as I do.
And Sofia's reaction is actually really great here because Sophia's probably thinking, "Ma'am, I certainly never slept with Oz." Oh, poor Oz. Eve then mentions Nancy Hoffman, Yolanda Jones, two of the hangman's victims. They were friends with Eve as well as waitresses at the Iceberg Lounge. That's when Sofia drops a major bomb that she's not the hangman and that Oz knew her father killed those women. Now this is a real girl power sisterhood emphasis on hood moment. Eve finally realizes that she needs to look out for herself and her girls only. Sophia's been known you can't trust anyone but yourself. So Sofia lets Eve live, and in return, Eve tells Sofia where to find Oz. In this next scene, Oz doesn't even need Vic to tell him that he killed Squid. He can read it on his face, and their relationship honestly is just giving me whiplash at this point. Penguin gets all the leaders of the gangs together for the Gold Summit and hands out the Tri-Corner Gold to everyone present, hence the name. Reminder that Tri-Corner is also the neighborhood in Gotham. Present here are the Odessas. Low Boys, Burnley Massive led by Abel Crown as it was in the comics, Sullivan's led by Donny Boy Sullivan, and the Triads represented here by Link and Fang Zhao, who we met back in episode 3. This is very similar to the War Game setup, in that the Summit was actually an old Batman plot that was supposed to gather the organized crime families under the control of the Matches Malone, one of Bruce Wayne's alter egos. However, it was put into action by Stephanie Brown, a disgraced Robin who wasn't aware Batman was Matches and was trying to impress Batman by enacting one of his plans. When Matches didn't show, things went south and a lot of the gang leaders actually got killed, which does not bode well for everyone here. Penguin's speech here mirrors the one Sofia gave after taking control of the Falcone family. They're both motivating folks who are usually lower on the food chain, whose work is exploited by those above them to rise up against the exploiters. This theme of class warfare is carried over from the Batman, where the Riddler was angry at the corruption rampant among Gotham's elite. He says our real power is we have to watch each other's back, so I doubt Penguin means this. It's interesting because we just heard Eve say she and her girls watch each other's backs and meant it. A family built on trust. In a previous episode, she said the reason her and Oz worked is because they promised not to f each other over. But Oz did in fact f her over when he used Eve and her girls as a cover for killing Alberto and selling bliss in front of Sofia, and now she can't trust him, so she flipped on him. A lot of the show has been about contrasting family systems. The Falcones turned on their own family while the Maronis were a strong family unit. Yet both families collapsed because they were betrayed, the Maronis by Oz and Falcones by Sofia. Sofia offered her men a new family when she created the Gigante crime family, and Oz is doing the same here. Family, it seems more than blood, is built on trust, except we know that no one should trust the Penguin. His only real loyalty is to his own mother, who he just promised to kill when the time comes. So does he really have loyalty to his mom? So all in all, you can have family and you can have trust, but you can't also have power because you'll be preyed upon by people like the Penguin who simply don't care, just like the Maronis. Just something interesting here with the themes that have been present. After everyone pops their beers in agreement with Oswald, we then see Vic clean Squid's blood off his new sneakers, and our boy is still frazzled by that encounter. Oz gets the power back on, and the record of Little Glowworm picks up right where it stopped earlier. Frances hops up and dances, the music lifting her spirits like it did when she danced with Oz back in episode 2. But Vic hears something, and while Vic still tries to pump up Oz in the eyes of Frances, we see Sofia is already in the house as Frances confirms that Oz is her boy. Not now, Frances. Of all times you've been yelling about this boy this entire series, and now is when you're like, this is my boy's doing, and here is Sofia in the background. And she has like one of those, she has the crowbar. I'm like, she's gonna beat this old lady with a crowbar? That's insane. The end credit song is Black Flowers by Chris Isaac. The full lyrics, which don't appear here, include, "Tell me, mother, will I die? Yes, my child, and so shall I. And never know the reason why little black flowers grow in the sky, which is quite ominous, and I'm not sure Frances is getting out of this one though with it. This episode was so interesting to see the themes of family, corruption, and the different classes in Gotham still going at it. We now have allegiances and allies, but that doesn't mean anything in this universe. This isn't Survivor, no one can be trusted, especially Oz. I only see betrayal in his future again, especially with the triads, but for now, he saved his own ass and everyone without power in Gotham. Though, how will our man react knowing Sofia found his mother? Will she have mercy? Absolutely not. Comment down below your thoughts on episode 6 and follow me at Lulu_Clemons. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. I'll be back next week for episode 7. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.